Hello everyone, you're watching The Red Path. My name is Dara, and today we'll be continuing our Getting Started with World Eaters mini-series. I'm going to be walking you through a quick and easy paint scheme for a World Eaters Berserker, so you can get your angry boys on the table in no time. So grab yourselves a brew and let's dive in. We're going to start things off with the red power armor. It's important when painting any miniature that you begin with a strong base coat. Typically, this is a color which is a bit darker than the final tone that you want to achieve. This will allow you to build up to a nice bright tone and also include some interesting shadows along the way. In this case, we've begun with a mix of Wordbearer's Red and MEPHISTON Red. We've watered this down slightly as well, just to make sure that the paint layer isn't too thick and doesn't obscure any detail. After the first pass has dried, we're going to go back over the Berserker with the same mix again to reinforce this base coat layer. It's always better to do 2 or more thin layers instead of 1 thick layer of paint, especially when you're building up several different layers of tone over time. Next up, we're going to apply a thin layer of MEPHISTON Red over our base coat. This will give us a strong, rich red tone for the armor, and the darker initial base coat layer will add some depth to the color too, making these armor panels appear less flat. If you want to try and create some shadows, consider leaving some of the base coat in the shadowy areas and avoiding these places with the MEPHISTON Red layer. Again, we're working with a pretty thin layer of paint here, so our detail won't be obscured. If you want the red to be richer, you can always do another pass of MEPHISTON Red too. We're going to start working on the brass armor trim next. Choosing the right color for this is very important. The brass trim frames the red armor panels, so we want something that contrasts well with the red and jumps out, making sure we have some strong outlines for our armor. I've chosen RUNELORD brass as a base coat for this. It's a medium to bright bronze color, which works really well with our rich reds. I'll do 2 passes of this to make sure we're building up a strong tone. To highlight our bronze trim, we're going to apply some CANOPTEK alloy as a layer over the RUNELORD brass. This is a very bright silvery brass color which works really well with our red tones, providing a cold frame to the warm reds we put down initially. My brush strokes are quick and fast when applying this layer, using a jagged motion to ensure not all the RUNELORD brass gets covered. This is a nice technique for painting metallics to make them look more realistic. Now we're going to begin working on the iron metallic areas. I'm using gunmetal as a base coat here. This is a paint from MEPHISTON, and personally I prefer this brand for metallics as they have a matte finish which looks more realistic. If you want to stick with Citadel paints though, you could use something like Iron Warriors as a base coat instead. Using the jagged brush technique that we did for the bronze, we're going to apply a layer of polished metal. Again, if you want to stick with Citadel, Leadbelcher would work fine here, or anything that is a medium level silvery colour. We're going to try to add some colour variation and represent the scratched, somewhat worn surface of the metals, which would be very smooth or bright after such a long time of waging war. The key here is working quick and fast and not thinking too much about specific areas of the miniature. Now we're going to quickly add in some brown leather areas. These parts of the miniature aren't the main focus, so we're not going to spend too much time on them because we don't want to draw attention away from the main body of the miniature. We're going to start with a simple base coat of RHINOX hide, a nice dark brown, which serves as a great foundation for leather, straps, pouches and the like. We're going to add a quick dry brush layer of MOURNFANG brown now, to simulate scratches and wear and tear. Dry brushing is a technique where you take some of the paint straight from the pot, remove most of it from the brush and make quick brush motions across the mini. It's great for things like leather, where you want to add quick, realistic effects to it. For the skulls, we're going to apply a base coat of XV88. This is a somewhat sandy looking paint, and it's a good foundation for bones as it adds a yellowy undertone, which adds a little bit of age and interest to the skulls. It's also a strong, easy to apply paint to go over a black primer layer. Following on from this, we're going to dry brush on ZANDRI dust. Dry brushing here is a great way of building up quick tones for bones. You'll have some of the XV88 coming through and a nice bone coloured main layer dominating the skull. Finally, we'll add a quick dry brush of USHABTI bone on the main raised areas of the skull, like the forehead and cheekbones. This represents the light catching on these raised areas and serves as a quick, natural highlight which is easy to apply. We're going to add a blue spot colour to the tabard and hair here, mainly to add some variation in tone. We've chosen blue because it is opposite red on the colour wheel, so it contrasts nicely with the main armour tone. Now we're going to add some shadowing to our miniature, and we're going to do this with washes. Washes are a very watered down version of acrylic paints and will pool in recessed areas of the miniature, darkening those areas and adding realistic looking effects. For a beginner, they're an incredibly useful tool for getting quick and pleasing results. For the armor and metallic areas, we're using NULN oil. It's important to pay attention to where the wash is flowing on the armor here and make sure it isn't pooling in any areas we don't want it to be. This will create an unsightly patch of dried wash called a patina or coffee stain. Controlling the flow of the wash with a brush is a key skill in ensuring that this effect works well, so be patient and spend a little time focusing on this. We can also use washes to make things look aged or battle worn. We're applying AGRAX EARTHSHADE over the metal areas here to make them look old, paying special attention to rivets in the armor where rust would be beginning to build up. Again, controlling the wash and not overdoing it here is the key. If you wash everything out, the effect will be lost, so focus on small areas that would be likely places for corrosion and decay. For the eye lenses, we're going to take a fine detailed brush here and carefully apply some BAHARROTH blue. Steady your hands and brace the mini for this bit by placing your elbows firmly on the table and painting at eye level. Don't worry if you slip up, just take your time and focus. We'll add a quick wash of DRAKENHOF Nightshade now, and we're going to bring this up and around the eye lenses to give a simple but effective blue tint which represents the glow coming out from the lens. Finally, it wouldn't be a Khorne Berzerker without some blood effects. We're going to apply Blood for the Blood God in quick, sharp motions with an older brush whose bristles are slightly frayed. Moving with the direction of the blade will simulate slashing motions. Don't overdo it here, less is more, especially when we already have so much red on the armor going on. And that's going to be it for this guy. We're going to get him based up and take some nice photos. I hope you've enjoyed this quick guide to painting a Khorne Berzerker. The scheme is easy and great if you're just getting into the hobby or World Eaters as an army. It doesn't require too many paints and the techniques are easy to pick up, and it'll help get your Berzerker horde on the tabletop quickly. If you like what you see, check out our Twitch where we do live stream painting twice a week, or our Discord which has several dedicated hobby channels. If you want to support the channel, check out our Patreon, YouTube membership or Twitch subscriptions. I'd love to see your own Berzerkers, so make sure to post them in our Discord. And until the next one folks, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill, maim, burn.